The reality we live in can be a very strange place. Most of the time, fact being stranger than fiction. How will we ever start to understand this reality we live in unless we question everything? Join me and a guest as we unravel the mysteries of this reality, one topic at a time. This is Inquiries of Our Reality with Shayn Jones.
Reality isn't what it seems. Abductees taking aboard a craft with a tractor beam. Is life a simulation or an astral dream? Aliens travel through black holes in different galaxies. Life is a bizarre odyssey with a mic talking about philosophy. Well, Bigfoot is stalking campers as a Wendigo walks through the woods of sharpened antlers, using a Ouija board to talk to the dead like a necromancer. There's so many questions and not enough answers. So if you're interested in mysteries and abnormalities, tune in and listen to Inquiries of Our Reality. So if you're interested in mysteries and abnormalities, tune in and listen to Inquiries of Our Reality.
What is up, Inquirers, and welcome to the expanse of deep, open-minded conversation. I'm the one they call Shayn, and today for you guys, I have somebody who has an ability that I had never actually previously heard of before this show, and he's actually been doing his rounds on a lot of shows, actually trying to see if there's anybody else who's heard of this ability that he has, but definitely shrouded in mystery, definitely fascinating, and we're going to get into this one today. But before we get into this one today, I have a really, really big announcement that I had previously talked about on Bizarre Encounters last week, actually earlier this week, but I want to make sure that I announce it on this show too. I am kicking in a new side venture that I'm working on, and I'm calling it Bizarrities. And the whole concept that it is going to be creature-inspired tea blends. And the first one that I worked on, well, two different flavor variations of the first one I worked on is a Sasquatch blend, and there's an apple Sasquatch blend and there is a mint Sasquatch blend, and it's supposed to be a coffee alternative. So the base of it is yerba mate, and it has a woodsy taste with a little bit of an accent of either mint or apple. The first event that I'm going to have it at is going to be Snarly Cryptid Halloween 3, which of course will be the next event I'm at, which will be happening on August 26th. And if you guys want more information on that, that is also down in the show description, just to throw that one in there. But as far as the tea goes, don't forget to go and follow Bizarre Teas on Instagram. Also have the link available down in the show notes too, so you guys can find it quick and easy. And if anybody's interested in scooping some, you guys can either come out to that next event that I'm going to be at, or you guys can always shoot me a message through the Instagram and I can set up some form of an order for you. Depending on how this one goes, I have a lot of new other flavor ideas that I want to work on, but I figured I'd start with one, and if you guys pick up on it, then I'd keep expanding on it. But that's my really, really big piece of news and updates that I've been working on for about the past year. Super excited to finally announce it on the show and everything, so hopefully you guys like it, and if you guys end up trying any of the flavors, give me some feedback on it, because I would absolutely love to hear it from you guys. And before we start the show, just a quick message. This podcast has a strong focus on community engagement, so I encourage all listeners to share their own experiences and research on the show. That said, if you have an encounter or an experience that you guys would like to have shared on the show, or if you'd like to be featured on future episodes of the new show that I'm working on that I'm going to be calling The Reality Report, you guys can either call into the hotline and you guys can leave a voice message that I'd be able to use on the show. That number is 313-364-1551. Or you guys can type out and send your experience/encounter to ommencounterreports@outlook.com. And depending on what you want to do with it, just let me know. If you're somebody that just wants to have somebody to talk to about this kind of stuff, or possibly have me come out and investigate and you don't want it talked about on the show, just let me know, because I'm not going to actually put any of this stuff out until I get permission from you guys. So I just got to double check and make sure. But on the other side, if you're interested in being a guest on the show, if you're a researcher, author, any of that kind of stuff, you guys can shoot me an email at inquiriesofourrealitypodcast@outlook.com. And every single thing that I mention is all available in the link tree, which is available down in the show description. And with that, let's get into the show. Please welcome to the show, Isaac from Hidden in the Shadows. How's it going today, man?
Doing good.
Absolute pleasure to have you on the show today, man. I guess a good spot to always start, because I know you have a lot of awesome experiences that we're going to dive into today. But so everybody has a little bit of a background on you. Why don't you let them know a little bit about yourself, a little bit about what you do, a little bit about your show, and what exactly got you into it?
Alrighty, before I tell you my story, one thing of information that I always like to give, especially for those who have yet to ever hear it, is that I can almost guarantee you have never heard a story like mine before. And I know you've interviewed a lot of people, a lot of strange people out there. I've probably heard a lot of weird stories. But after I'm done telling you it, I want to know if my statement stands true, is I almost guarantee you've never heard anything like this before.
Got me excited already, man. I'm looking forward to it.
The podcast started in 2020 out of the pandemic, like most people who started podcasts, except we survived afterwards. But the whole reason we started in the first place is because between me and my co-host, my wife, we have enough paranormal experiences to fill up a couple of novels just between the two of us. She has been plagued, you could say, by spirits since she was a child, but that goes hand in hand with being a very strong psychic medium that she is. So she is our home. Sorry, every home she's lived in has been haunted, and every home that we live in the future will also be haunted. Spirits come to her like a moth to a flame. They are always attracted to her aura, and they always want to communicate. So that goes with that. But me, I grew up on a very haunted ranch in North San Antonio, Texas, and Blanco, Texas, to be specific. Every paranormal experience that's ever happened to me has happened there. Well, not everyone, but the majority of them have happened there. From possible skinwalker, from a possible Bigfoot, from hearing ghosts, hearing things, seeing a shadow figure, hearing whistling, everything and anything you can think of underneath the sun has happened to me on that ranch. So much so that every time I tell the story about the ranch specifically, people often say it seems to rival Skinwalker Ranch just on the level of experiences I've had there alone. And not just me, people have also gone there as well, like friends I've had in high school. But what really took things to the next level in the journey of my life is in September of 2020, September of that year. I gained, or the ability awoke in me, that would forever change my course on what I'm supposed to do with my life. I gained the ability to feel, manipulate, and control the energy of the other side with my hands. And the way I explain it is that the sensation feels like when your hands go to sleep. And it starts in the center of my palm and spreads out through my hand, my fingertips. The closer or stronger the entity is. So off the bat, I'm like a natural EMF detector. I can detect when something's nearby with just my hands. That sensation, that feeling. It's almost like that pushback you get from putting batteries, and you get that pushback from them fighting off each other.
Just out of curiosity, too, are you able to receive it like with your mind? Are you able to visually perceive this stuff, or is it literally just with your hands? So it's like mediumship, but a little bit different than how most seem to get the gift.
No, and I often tell people I'm not a psychic, I'm not a medium. I can't hear or see them any more say than anyone else can, but I feel them with my hands. And that's how I detect where something is, by just using it. But that's only the first stage of what I'm capable of doing.
That's already fascinating all on its own, because I've never actually heard of anybody having that experience before. So that's fascinating all on its own.
Yeah. Where the ability went after that, how it's evolved to what it is now, has made me the most dangerous person in the world for dark entities. But let me explain. First, it was just detecting. And then I learned to differentiate which hand detects which. So when my left hand charges, that's the sensation I call it. From that sensation through my hand, I call it charging. Left hand charges. It's a human spirit, something on the positive spectrum of the paranormal world. When my right hand charges, something evil, something dark, something on the negative energy side of the paranormal spectrum. And I don't dictate which is which. The hands do. They tell me what's going on. I don't tell my hands to feel this for this spirit or that spirit. No, it automatically just does it for me. I have no control over what entity is or isn't, regardless of what my people might think the entity is. What my hands say is what is. And the way I learned to differentiate is because of my wife. Like I said, she's a very talented psychic medium. So she was able to pick up on the idea that, hey, I feel this on my left hand. Oh, that's a human spirit. I feel this on my right hand. She doesn't like what's there. she feels something very negative, something evil from her. So that's how I learned. Plus, doing investigations it's in January or February of 2021, the following year, with the local paranormal team, helped me, gauge my ability. So it was just feeling in the beginning, but then my first encounter with something dark was Halloween of that same year, 2020, and I was out in the backyard with my son, and I just see a shadow run past the light we have in the lamp and block it out, like someone ran past me, and I turned around, like thinking someone was in the backyard. My right hand charged, and I was like, "Oh, something's out there." I was looking around, feeling where it is, and I had the instinctual reaction of gripping my hand, almost like I was trying to grab whatever this was. And when I did so, I felt an electric charge run through my hand, my arm, all the way into my head, and I pulled, and the sensation felt like I was almost like sucking the entity, whatever was there, into my hand, like almost like a vacuum, essentially. And then, but before I could get a full grip, it essentially ran away. But that was the first and last time anything's ever escaped from me. Because from then on, I learned to grab, to pull into myself. In the early stages, I would pull the energy into myself and filter it like a natural filtration system. The sensation felt like a chill running up my spine, even though I'd be sweating, and it would release in a breath, like a neutral energy. But that practice of pulling, absorbing, and releasing from my own body started taking a toll on me, physical toll. It started turning the hair on the right side of my head and my beard gray, only the right side. My wife noticed it. She's like, "This is taking a toll on you. You got to find another way to do this." So luckily, one of the elders, I call him elder because he was the oldest on the team, but also he has the most experience, and kind of was my mentor. Well, sorry, it was my mentor for when the starting time of learning this. He kind of guided me through the spiritual sense of getting in touch with your spirit guides, looking through your third eye, all that stuff from the spiritual side of becoming anyone on that side of stuff. But he kind of guided me. Granted, he didn't know anything about my ability, never heard of it before, and the other stuff he tried to help me with, which he was successful getting that across. But with my ability, no, that was beyond him. But he had the vision. His name was Mike. He had the vision of a King Solomon symbol. Now, he's never seen it before. He doesn't understand what it is. He shared the symbol in a group chat. And at the time, we had a good amount of members on the paranormal team that we were part of. And luckily, we had a member on the team who was also Jewish. So he instantly recognized the symbol as a King Solomon symbol. The King Solomon symbol that's on King Solomon's ring, which gave me the idea. If the only other person in history was able to do what I'm doing now, imprisoning dark entities, could I try to do the same with his ring? So I bought a King Solomon replica ring, nothing special, just steel and silver. But to fit my pinky, and I pulled an entity, and almost like a reflex, I simply said, when I had all the energy in my hand, before I crushed it and pushed it into myself, I said, "into the ring," as I crushed it. And it didn't go through my body, it didn't filter. So where did it go? That's right. And I kept doing this over and over again. And then my wife, of course, like I said, talented psychic medium she is, started hearing screaming and yelling and swearing coming from the ring. Like she was listening to like a prison of all these inmates yelling and screaming at the same time. So she channeled into the ring to look inside. She said it almost looked like a holding cell, like a prison holding cell. And all these Dementor-looking things were flying around, hitting the walls, unable to leave, like a prison. And I have been using that ring to do this practice of pulling, and nothing so far has been able to escape that ring, ever. Nothing. And I have lost count of how many negative human entities I put in there, but I have also kept count of everything else. At current count, I have 146 demons, confirmed demons, in that ring.
Just out of curiosity, too, like what material is this ring made out of? Just
like I said, then just steel and silver.
Just steel and silver. That's it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, just obviously the power of sigils and stuff like that. I was just curious if it had to be like a specific type of metal or something like that in order to be able to do this.
Well, that's the thought that's been cooking my noodle for years now. Is it the ring that's keeping them there? Or is it me? Could I have done this with any other object?
Or the combination of the sigil with you, too.
Yeah. Well, that's my best guess. But no, everything I've come across, every dark entity, regardless if it's a spirit of a witch, a skinwalker, a demon, anything and everything that I have come across, and I don't mean to say this to be cocky or egotistical in any way, I just mean to be truthful, nothing has been able to stop me. Nothing. Nothing. Every single thing has fallen just the same. Regardless of how powerful, how ancient, how old, everything has fallen every single time.
We will be right back after this brief commercial break. But just a quick reminder, if you guys want to stay up to date on the show, you guys can always go and follow Inquiries of Our Reality and Open Minds Media on Instagram, Facebook, Discord, YouTube, and TikTok. Now feel free to fast forward through these commercials so we can hop right back into the show. And we are back, so let's get back to it.
Through the practice of meditation, getting in touch with my spirit guides, learning to look through my third eye, I learned that it wasn't a vacuum that I was generating from my hand. There were strings of energy, you can imagine, from each one of my fingertips that fired out, wrapped around the entity like a boa constrictor, pulled the entity to me like I was reeling it in, but condensing him at the same time. So squish, squish, squish to about the size of a ball in my hand. And that energy, I focus into the ring. The practice I've been doing for the last 4 years with that ring, like I said, 146 confirmed demons.
Just out of curiosity, have you found anybody else, or have you seen anybody else that have made reference to this where it has like possibly a name for what this is called?
Believe me, I have researched and searched this world 10 times over to find anything in this world similar to what I'm doing. And the closest I've come and found is a practice done amongst the Nordics, the Haitians, the Aztecs, the Mayans. Their shamans would practice an art of imprisoning dark entities into their staffs. So it is not as a 100% new thing, but to the extent of what I'm doing now, no. And that's the best example I can have for myself. What I can describe myself to someone is I am like a natural born shaman. I was born to do this versus learning any art of shamanism, which I have not. Well, we can read in books and learn on the internet and stuff like that. But as an act of actually going through the practices, learning the chants, learning the spells, learning anything else you can be a shaman, no, nothing. And I am 10 times more powerful than any one of them out there right now. So like I said, like I'm naturally born to do this. And so much so that I have helped 41 families, 41 home cases I have done. And here's really going to surprise you here. 2 of those home cases I have done in person.
So
right?
The other ones, are you able to almost kind of like how people astral project? I don't want to necessarily say astral project, but you don't necessarily have to be in the location in order to be able to do this?
No, I don't remote view. I can't remote view.
Well, I don't necessarily mean remote view, but like if you like focus your energy into a location that you're not at, are you able to like do this, or do you have to physically be in that location?
It's stranger than both. Let me explain. Those strings I talked about, those strings of energy, right? That leave my hand. I can send those strings through the phone like we're talking right now into the screen from in where I am out to where you are and feel whatever is in your space from where you are. So essentially, it's like folding fourth-dimensional space. Granted, my phone's where it is. Yours is where your camera is where it is. Regardless of how distance, when I pull, they're back to back, and I'm reaching through, grabbing what's in your space, pulling it through the camera into my space. And it has to be in real time. It can't be pre-recorded, anything like that. I have to be in real time. This has to be at the exact same time and moment for it to work. And I've had people that literally just like a FaceTime call with me, walk me around their house, point the camera, turn left, turn right, look up, look down, stop, stand still, hold a minute, right? And I pull whatever's there. And 41 home cases, like I said, I have done. And that's why my, count of demons is so high, because I have done a lot of oppression cases. Out of the 41, 30, I think, have been demonically or demons were involved. Majority of others, it's just a regular kind of dark hauntings and stuff like that. I've helped paranormal investigators a lot who might bring something home, or they're on a case and they need me to take care of something right there that's particularly nasty for them. But 41 home cases I've done so far. and I'm able to pull through phones like this because the strings basically can go from my place to yours. So I've helped people not only in our country, but in Canada, Portugal, the Philippines, Australia, England, Mexico, Hawaii. I have helped people across almost, not say the entire world, but almost there. And I pulled the most difficult pull I think I ever did was a guy was in Belize. His mother was in Hawaii. He aimed his phone camera at his camera on the computer where he can see his mom. So I reached through his phone into his space, reached through his camera into her space. So like almost like a inception kind of doom, going down further to grab something there. That was difficult. But no, the finding out what I am, right? That's been a longer journey. Who I am has been a lot more simpler. Because in the time of doing this, I have earned 6 names, 6 titles, 6 names, whatever you want to call it. Each are a clue to finding out, but the 6th name was the most defining clue ever. The name the title or my handle I use most often is the Shadow Walker. That name was given to me by a psychic medium that I met because I had an interview like this. I talked to her. She was a paranormal investigator in Australia. And I explained my ability to her because at the beginning, I wanted to find anyone who could know anything about this, if you heard anything about this. And she said, you know what, that actually sounds a lot like my friend Jane. Let me go talk to her. Oh, shit, finally found somebody who can give me an answer. Jane was a psychic medium with something I like to call an EMA, energy manipulation ability. Some psychic mediums that we come across, and me and my wife's journey, have an extra ability to project positive energy from either themselves or their hands. And we've only met about 4, I think, who have definitive EMAs. Well, 5 now, sorry. Who can project positive energy, use an extra ability besides being psychic or medium. Jane could pull in positive energy with her left hand and use it to cross the spirits over. So she was moving energy from one side to the other. But she never dealt with anything dark. She was afraid to. But when she went to see her shaman and finding out what this ability is, her shaman told her, oh, you're a psychopomp or you're a shadow walker. So that's how the name stuck. When she said, oh, you're a shadow walker, you're a psychopomp, which actually the terminology of a psychopomp, it doesn't describe me at all. Not in the least bit, but it describes more my wife. She's the one that crosses spirits over more so. I imprison dark entities. So we work hand in hand, us together.
I was going to say throw 2 more names on the list because you can also throw Entity Trapper at yourself or Entity Imprisoner. But Entity Trapper, the Entity Trapper, that one sounds pretty cool.
Yeah.
Get your own unique ability. You got to come up with your own unique name for it, right? Because then at least it makes like a new mark where people have a point of reference again. Because maybe it was something that got lost in time at some point where the name just got forgotten because somebody hasn't had it for a while. But even if you create a name that explains exactly what it is, you'll be bookmarking in history where if somebody else pops up with this ability in the future, they'll at least know somebody that might have that same ability off of the title, renamed title of it.
I met some people that are similar, but no one's ever 100%. That's the thing. No one's ever exactly what I'm doing. They're psychic, they're mediums that have an extra ability to push things away, or they're a psychic shaman or something like that who have a ability to, with a shit ton of preparation and a shit ton of time, can maybe take an entity and put it in an object. That's the most I can do. When I walk in a room, grab, pull, done. Hey, what's going on? Let's go do next thing. That's what upsets me. Yeah, but the second name was kind of a given or a joke in a sense, but I earned it actually after one investigation. When I was looking into different faiths around the world and looking at different religions and see if there's anything about what I am, we found the guy was with my mentor, Mike. We were looking at Native American faiths and stuff like that. And we found one about the Great Spirit in the Sky or the Earth Maker. And he laughed and he goes, oh, if that guy's Earth Maker, wouldn't that make you Earth Shaker? And I go, what are you talking about? I was like, because he said when I still technically do, but in the beginning I had to literally put my hand to the earth and I could feel the negative energy, depending on which hand I put. I could feel the negative energy when I put my right hand to the earth. and almost like 100-yard radius from where I put that, I can feel everything that's there. And then I can also pull like a giant net, catching everything at once and pulling it up from that point. Every time I did that, the earth vibrated on the people's feet that are around me as I did it. So that's why he said he called me the Earth Shaker, because he's a funny guy, Earth Maker. The third name is, like I said, was given to me, or at least I kind of applied it to myself when I had my first oppression case. The first oppression case I ever did. Walked into a room with first demonic oppression. This one, me and my wife were looking at other faiths to follow in, because Christianity wasn't giving us the answers that we wanted. So we kind of abandoned it. But we actually started getting into Nordic faith, where we kind of still reside right now. And
like a heathen?
Yeah, technically.
I've had a few heathens on the show. That's the only reason I'm asking.
Yeah. Well, I'm wearing a Volk nut, so I guess that.
Yeah, I was going to say, I had a feeling. I was trying to see what it was, but I couldn't see it big enough to actually make a true identification of it.
Yeah. But she said, you think we should do an offering to Odin since we're going technically into battle? And I was like, that wouldn't hurt. So I just took some stones, a wolf pendant, and some herbs or something, put a hole in the ground, put it in there, and then said, "All Father, protect me in battle." And I heard as clearly as I'm talking to you, while I'm standing out in the backyard by myself, Dranger, right? And I'm looking around, what the fuck? Who said that, right? And I'm looking around, there's no one out there with me, and I look at my neighbors, there's no one out. I'm like, what the fuck was that? And I tell my wife about it. She really? I said, yeah. So we look up the word. Dranger was a Nordic word that the Vikingers would use as a compliment to one another. It essentially means like badass or ultimate warrior. So if you were so-and-so's Dranger, you were his best fighter, right? So for the All-Father to call me Dranger is a big compliment. So that's when my third name became Odin Stranger. Yeah, he called me that. I didn't apply it to myself.
That one's the coolest one so far.
Yeah. The fourth was, like I said, the best description of what I am, a shaman. But those shamans that I talked about before, they were shamans meant for war. Each of those shamans were also known to be in battle at the same time, for foreseeing the future of what could help them in conflict and stuff like that. They were called war shamans. So fourth name became war shamans.
This might be a good spot to ask, actually, while you're bringing up shamans again. Just out of curiosity, have you looked into like your lineage or anything to see if you may have had anybody in your background that had shamanistic abilities or anything like that?
I am of Hispanic descent, about 90% Mexican and 10% Choctaw Native. Choctaw comes from my mother's side. Her grandfather was a Choctaw, indigenous, and her grandmother was Spanish. So you got the same mix-up that mix Mexicans, but just on a different form, I guess, because all the Mexicans, we are half Aztec or Mayan and half Spanish. So you got the same mix-up, just a different area. But yeah, I find out that when I'm at 30 that I'm part Choctaw. She's like, I thought you already knew. I'm like, no. I was like, that could have helped me out in high school, get the scholarships. But anyway. No, I looked in my lineage and I asked my father, I asked my mother, is there anyone in our family bloodline that was psychic or medium or practiced any kind of witchcraft or anything? No one.
Weird other side question then too. I don't know if you get into the whole like past live thing or if you've had any experiences with that. But is it possible that maybe you had these abilities in a past life if you kind of go down that line of thinking?
Oh, I'll get to that because there's a definite yes to that question. But
jumping ahead,
that's part of the sixth name. So first, the fifth name, I guess I added to my list, was what the entities call me, what demons call me, what dark entities call me. They don't call me Isaac. They don't call me Shadow Walker. They call me Order Keeper.
Sounds like a prison guard.
That's what they've called me. So they've called me Order Keeper. They've never called me by my name. Every single time they've ever insulted me or said something to me or even tried getting my attention has always been Order Keeper.
See, Isaac is a biblical name too. So if you're dealing with entities like this, I wonder if you have biblical names, if they intentionally try not to say them even on top of that.
Well, I've heard my name whispered before, but that's before my ability. So I don't know if it's 100% impossible. then again, you've heard of stories of demons saying Jesus' name in vain. I don't know. It's possible. I don't know. It's a good theory, but I don't know if it's the 100% reason. Maybe because they don't see me as Isaac. They see me as the Order Keeper or something else, and what's attached to my ability, or they're seeing my higher self and they don't see me. You know what I mean? They don't see this form of me. They see the next form of me. But the sixth name, speaking of past lives, has the most gravitas, you could say. It has also the strongest clue into everything. Last year, I had surgery over my belly button because I had hernia. And I had to, of course, get that fixed and stuff like that. Now, Mike, like I said, my mentor, he had many surgeries over his time because he had stomach cancer, over remission, coming back. He's in remission now. He's fine. But he's been under the knife a lot. And he told me, when you're under anesthesia, if you focus and meditate, you can go anywhere you want. And he became really good at it because of all his time under the table. So with that in mind, I was like, well, let me try to do that when I go under. And literally the night before my surgery, we get visited by my grandfather, but not my grandfather from this time. My grandfather from when I was with the Cheyenne tribe in the early 1700s. He came here saying to Megan, she was talking through her to me, to when I go under, to go find him. So I had my surgery, which I don't know if you ever had surgery before, but
not enough that I've had to go under.
Yeah. I've never experienced falling asleep and waking up in the same second, and hours have passed by. 6 hours to be exact. Granted, I fell asleep in school, but it never felt like that.
Yeah, my girlfriend had to have that happen to her a couple of years ago, and like she explains it the same way. Like, it sounds kind of horrifying, but at the same time, it just sounds like one of those just things that you have to experience once in life to at least understand what people are talking about. Yeah,
like being so tired, you just fall asleep and wake up, like hours have passed. What the fuck? Anyway, so when I go under, I don't remember anything from the time. All I remember is me sitting across from a Native American man, indigenous man, who, of course, saying he looks like any indigenous man would look at the time. He has like a leather-made jacket or coat. He's wearing like a upper, like shirt kind of piece with like the beads and stuff like that. And he has like a headdress on, a war bonnet essentially. And he's looking at me, and we're sitting in front of a cave on natural outcropping of rock. And there's a fire between us, like a little fire, but the fire is blue, right? And he says to me, he looks at me, "You are Ashwakanatunka, the Reaper of Souls." That's all I remember from our 6 hours of our conversation when I was under. "You are Ashwakanatunka, the Reaper of Souls."
That one's a pretty badass nickname too.
Yeah. So that name, Ashwakanatunka, has been the strongest escape. And the reason I say that is because this is a Cheyenne legend, because that was part of the Cheyenne tribe. I've had past life regressions, 2 of them. 3, sorry. 2 from the same person, 1 from somebody else. And the conclusion they both come up with is that my soul has been here a very long time. I'm not talking hundreds of years. I'm talking thousands of years I have been here. They say my soul goes all the way back to maybe ancient Mesopotamia, probably before. It goes back and back and back. Like they can't see where it starts or my first life. It just keeps going back. So in other words, I have been here a very, very, very long time. Not an old soul. I'm an ancient soul. Jokingly, she put it.
Hold that thought. We'll be right back. But before we get into this commercial break, if anybody is interested in supporting the show or any of the work I do over here, you guys can go and check out the OMM Patreon. Over there is 7-day free trials available for all of the tiers, and it is constantly updating with new shows and different stuff going on. You guys can also go and check out the OMM merch store, constantly getting updated with new designs, not just pertaining to the podcast themselves, but also cryptid, paranormal, and extraterrestrial related designs. And the third way you guys can support the show, if you guys think I deserve it, is that you guys can leave a 5-star review or rating for the show on iTunes or Spotify. And if you guys leave a 5-star review, of course, I will read on the show and give you guys a big shout out. Now let's get to the commercial break so we can hop back in the show. And we are back. So let's hop right in.
So I've had many lives. And one thing that they found out is that every life I've ever lived, every single one has been war, has been combat, has been conflict. I have never had a life of peace. They say your lives are supposed to be different from the next. Lessons you're supposed to learn, being a mason, being a teacher, being a speaker, being this, being in war, being everything. No, my lives have been all one singular thing: war, combat. Because I have been a soldier, I have been a fighter, I've been a knight, I've been an assassin, I have been a hitman, I have been a gunslinger, I have been a bounty hunter. I have been everything you can think of that results in conflict and killing. Every single life I've ever lived, all of them. Not one moment of peace. And this life is no different. I'm just fighting a different kind of war. But yeah, 1700 is the Cheyenne tribe I was part of, and Ashwaubenon apparently was my name, or at least my title. He said it like a title. He didn't say it like a name. That's one thing I can get from it. But the investigations I've done around here in East Coast, North Carolina, I investigated around the Croton National Forest. Of course, indigenous spirits we come across. They call me Ashwaubenon over the spirit punks. We've heard it. Indigenous speak, and then all of a sudden you hear Ashwaubenon. I was like, holy shit, how do they know that name? And then, granted, like I said, this is the East Coast. This is supposed to be a Cheyenne legend. What's even stranger is I have friends up north in Vancouver, around Surrey, that area. And he's an investigator as well. And he investigated around an indigenous graveyard where they have a lot of indigenous people who are buried. Not their traditional way, but I guess these are people later in life. And he asked them, hey, I got a question for you guys. I have a friend in the States who has a specific name. I want to know if you've ever heard it before. So he asked, do you guys know the name Ashwaubenon? And if the instant response over the spirit box, they hear, yes, he is king. That's it. So indigenous spirits on the East Coast, indigenous spirits on the Northwest Coast, and this is supposed to be a Middle American Great Plains legend amongst the Cheyenne, all know the name Ashwaubenon. So that tells me there's a legend out there that I have no knowledge about. And believe me, I've looked up the name, trying to find anything around it. Nothing. There's no legend, no nothing, no history, no stories, anything. And I think maybe it's a story that was kept close to their chest. Cheyennes kept it very close. A legend that was lost to time. And a lot of legends were lost through time because of, most Native Americans were killed and then destroyed, and their entire race was almost genocidally destroyed.
All oral tradition too, so nothing was written down either. So once a group was wiped out, that was it for those stories.
Yeah. So I wouldn't be surprised if that story got lost, but it's with the Cheyenne, and the Cheyenne are one of the strongest tribes left with the most amount of histories they have left. So my only clue was to get in touch with a Cheyenne elder or medicine man who might know the histories and might know something about the name. But that seems to be a harder bridge to cross than anything else I've done so far. Because indigenous people do not like talking to people from the outside if you are coming at them seeking information that might, I don't know. Believe me, I've emailed countless websites for indigenous people, their website of their reservations, and I've heard nothing back.
I've been trying forever to get somebody to come on the show and talk about stuff too, and yeah, it's been 3 years trying, and I haven't had any luck either. So,
yeah. But Ashwaubenon, that's the name, and like I said, past lives, war, every single one, which I think has prepared me for this one in combat. But with my weapon, right, taking down demons, taking down dark entities, taking down this, taking down that, it's been this war, and it's because of this war that I started, in a sense, is that why me and my wife have been targeted, because we've 146 demons. That's a big number to have in 4 years. Yeah, investigations, cases, and also because every single day we had somebody coming to the house looking for a fight. So my wife learned a couple of spells and learned from her own ability to shield our house, shield it, to almost putting us in a giant dome of positive energy protection that they can't penetrate. They can bang on it like it's sounding like bulletproof glass, but they can't get through. And she often knows when something's coming. I can feel it. And my range of feeling out, I would say, is maybe 50 yards. I can feel something coming before it gets too close. But yeah, it's the Shadow Walker ability, the Ashwakanatanka ability, this ability that is yet to be 100% defined. And now that I have it, I can't sit on the sideline. I can't. It's too important now. I would feel selfish knowing that I can help someone out, knowing that in 30 minutes, that's my record time for a home case. 30 minutes, not weeks, not months, 30 minutes. From turning on the camera, me talking to you, me pulling this stuff from your house, me clearing out your mind forest, and then my wife putting down a protection spell, you're done. It's like it was never there. But I spent months with this thing. Yeah, it's gone. I was tortured. I could never sleep. I had nightmares. It's gone. That has been the most unbelievable thing that most people have come across with me. You did this so fast. How? It's not hard for me. For others out there, it takes time. It takes a long time of investigation. No, my wife automatically knows what they're her main gift amongst a treasure trove of things, because she seems to be like the jack of all trades of psychic abilities. She remote views very, very well. And it doesn't seem like she can't find anyone. She seems to find anyone alive or dead. It doesn't matter. You show her a picture of someone, she knows exactly where they are. And she's allowed her to speak to the dead because of that. You show her someone who's passed away, she can find them. She knows exactly where they are. She knows if they crossed over or not. She knows if they're still here. She knows if they're in a good place or they're in suffering. So that's the extra ability of hers that she really doesn't like putting out there. Well, she doesn't care at this point now. But because no, she's going to get bombarded by people asking her, hey, can you make sure this person's all right? Can you make sure this person's all right? Can you make sure this person? Yeah. Because something that's probably been in the back of your head. 41 home cases, Isaac. You've had to earn a lot of money doing this, right? No. I do not charge anything for my ability, for my services. Not a dime. I don't ask for anything. I feel it morally wrong to do so, to charge someone for something when they're suffering, when they're going through hell, literally. And I'm expected to go, oh yeah, it cost you $100 and I'll get rid of it for you. No. That's wrong. I feel it wrong to do so. And as I feel it wrong for any psychic medium to charge for their abilities. You have a gift that's beyond the normal and you choose to charge people for it. Let alone that already gives off a red flag that you might be a charlatan. But for me, it just feels morally wrong to do so. So I never charge anyone for my services whatsoever. Time is the problem. Me getting enough time to help out people. And also notability. I am not as famous as I would want to be. And not for the simple act of fame. No, I don't care about that. What I care about is people knowing who I am so they can seek me out for help. Because they might come across a shaman or a psychic or a light worker or somebody who can push this stuff out. Or a priest who can push it away. And that's the problem. They push it away. This entity still exists in our third dimensional space. Still out there to harm other people. To come across somebody else. To torture them. Yeah, you help this family out, but what about the next? No. I stop it in place. I end it. I make sure this entity can never go and bother anyone ever again. Ever. No one else can make that guarantee. No one. Not at least anyone I come across, anyway. A lot of people that can guarantee getting rid of the entity for you for time and for a cost, but 100% permanently guarantee that this won't come back to haunt me, that it won't come back to hurt me, that it has no chance of ever escaping its prison. No one has that guarantee. But that again, that's, like I said, my purpose. And this is why I would feel selfish to sit on the sideline, because I can guarantee such things. I can guarantee 30 minutes. I can guarantee it's not going to come back and bother you. If you want this thing gone, it is gone. And I make sure that it's permanently gone. No one else can offer that. And because of that, I have to do what I'm doing. I have to help people. Hence why we have the podcast. Granted, the podcast is a great place for us to talk about paranormal things, but it's also a great platform for people to understand and hear our ability, how we interact, our cases that we've gone over and we've done. We talk about the highlights from them, what we experienced, what we came across, new entities that we've come across, the way we describe demons to people. Because the other part of the many parts of my ability is those strings that I talked about, right? In the beginning, before I knew what I was doing, I could take your right hand and hold it in mine, like we're handshaking, right? That allowed me to look into your mind forest. What the mind forest is the subconscious part of your mind where all your negative energy dwells. Your trauma, your hatred, your subconsciously or consciously shit that you put there. And it builds and it grows. And everybody's mind forest, which I call, it looks like a forest to me, is different from the foliage, from the type of trees, from the time of day, from how dense or how vast or how empty it is almost. It all depends on a person. And I've seen every kind of mind forest you can think of, especially in different regions too. But snowing, it looks like the jungle, looks like a forest from here, from there, from a woods, all different. And what's in there is different too. So I would reach in the beginning, I would have to hold your hand. I could pull that from your mind, but now I don't have to do that anymore. Now I can send my tendrils to go through the phone, reach into your head, pull the dark stuff out of your head, put it in the ring. When I do that, your main spirit guide comes forward. Not your only spirit guide, your main spirit guide. And I've talked to a kaleidoscope of spirit guides from knights, from Vikings, from gunslingers, from actors, from dancers, from doctors, from a skater kid who died in 2000, from a Samoan, an actual indigenous Samoan, from a doctor who served on the Oregon Trail, yeah, Oregon Trail, right? Anyone has a different spirit guide specifically for them. But the only thing I've been able to figure out is that if you have a fighter or a warrior or somebody who's meant for combat as your main spirit guide, you are going to be met with a lot of conflict. And I have done more mind force clearings than I've done anything else. I've had a lot of people contact me. Isaac, can you get the junk out of my head? Yeah, I can do it for you. And some people see clarity afterwards. Like their mind is clear, like they feel weight get taken off of them. One woman I actually helped out with no intention of doing this. I just, okay, just clear your mind force. I'll do it for you. Apparently she had some kind of ailment that she didn't tell me about prior to it. And she went to see her doctor literally the next day after I cleared out her mind force. It was gone. I was like, what? She said, yeah, you got rid of it. I'm like, that wasn't my intention. I didn't plan to do that. She goes, I don't know what you did, but it's gone. I'm like, all right. That's great, I guess. And now I got to think, what else can I fucking do?
Side note too, something I was kind of thinking about. You said it's kind of weird how this ability works, that it can work through screens, like, you know, when you're trying to use like a phone or whatever, and just trying to connect that with some old occult type concepts. You talk about like the scribing mirrors, and they're usually like the black mirrors. So essentially that's what like phone screens are. That's what computer screens are. So if anybody's kind of wondering how this could possibly work through like, you know, either a phone or through a computer, it might be because you're doing divination almost, again, through almost like using like a scribing mirror. On top of the whole fact that, I mean, a lot of conspiracy shows have talked about it, this whole idea about demons being able to manifest themselves within the system. So, I mean, I feel like there's possibly a connection there with the electronic aspect of it, that energy is being transferred from one place to another. And even on another more mythical side, I don't want to say mythical, mystical side, using the screen itself as a type of scribing mirror. Without even necessarily realizing that you're doing it. It's just a means of like having it in front of you and having that focus to be able to do it. You know, I don't think it's like, you know, you are necessarily saying like, this is the practice that I'm doing. It's something that you're subconsciously doing, because it seems like a lot of your abilities, like you didn't just learn it. It was just kind of like you figured out how to do it.
That's a strong possibility. But the way at least my theory in a way to it is that it's like I'm opening a portal and I'm remote viewing. But I'm not actually remote. I'm viewing and opening a portal through one device to the other. To me, to my conscious mind, is I'm doing it through the phone. Really, I'm reaching through to where you are, and the point from where I'm reaching in through is here. And the other end of, say, opening one portal to the other is where you are. But I'm using actual, sight. I
mean, there's even there's an energy connection from like this computer screen running to that computer screen too. So if you're like using these strings that are like a form of like energy, I mean, it could literally just be using that connection from point A to point B through that energy connection too. Something to think about.
I was like, I haven't put that information. I'll put it to my giant puzzle of me figuring this out.
But there's already like a route, so it's almost like you're reusing that route you already have created if you think about it, because there's already like an energy current that's going from like this person to this person. So you're just using that means almost. Just another way of possibly thinking about it if you're going off of like the energy aspect.
But the only rule to it is I have to see. I can't like do it through recorded. And if I could pull through any kind of pulling through time and space, that's something I don't know ever be possible. Because then I could change a lot of things before they even happen, which seems to be a rule that we're not allowed to do so. Seeing, that's a whole nother thing. You can see all you want, but interfering doesn't seem to be allowed. My wife can almost view the past. Something she's been working on the last year is remote viewing into the past and seeing as it was then, by watching old footage of paranormal investigations and remote viewing into their current location at the time they're recording it. So that seems to be her gift, which she's getting better at. But
hold that thought. We'll be right back. And we are back, so let's hop right in.
The only other people in the world that I know of so far who have the not the ability of mine, but the capability of what I can do. Better way to describe it. How I say there's no entity that can stop me, right? Everything I come across, doesn't matter how ancient or old or high ranking the demon is, it doesn't matter. They all fall the same, regardless of them coming across whatever, and it's done. The only other person I knew at the time was my wife, because what she could do when she remote views is something she calls body bagging, which I know is a funny term, but she essentially throws a positive bag of energy around said negative entity, captures it like a Santa sack, and throws it through a portal from where we are to where it is to where we are, where I can grab it, pull it, and put it in the ring. She calls it body bagging, and she only ever does it if, say, the camera breaks or the internet, disconnects, or I'm not allowed to see, and like, oh crap, they're telling me to go back and go there. She goes there, does it, and brings it back. But now she's got to a point where she opens a portal, and what she describes, because she likes using physical objects to help map her spiritual abilities, right? Using actual stuff in our world to help map what she's doing. She imagines herself throwing a body bag down like a giant laundry chute, right? And the laundry chute opens up into the ring. So that's how she does it. And like I said, she's taking down things that I'm surprised about what she just took down. But earlier this year, I came across a woman. Her name is Julie. And she is the other side of our triangle, right? Because now there's three of us who can do what I do. Not exactly. Like I said, my wife remote views. She goes there. She's not physically doing anything. It's in her mind that she's using her ability to remote view. Julie is the same. Julie remote views. But what Julie does is different from what Megan does. Megan has to use a body bag. Julie literally has to grab a set entity, teleport them, or remote view from one location to the other by taking the entity and dropping them off in the ring. Myself, Megan, and Julie are the only three people who are able to go inside the ring for one, and do so with full safety without worrying about what happens to us.
Weird side description. Have they described, like, I know that you kind of said a little bit earlier what like they described the sounds like, but being able to go inside, have they like described what the inside of this looks like? Just out of curiosity.
Oh, I can tell you because I've been there many times.
Oh, perfect. I'm excited.
Yeah. Because the same way I go into your mind forest, I can go like that into the ring. What it sounds like to me, or did, it doesn't sound like this much anymore, but what it did is, I don't know if you're a Slipknot fan at all.
Used to be for a while, so I'm familiar.
Yeah. The opening track to the Iowa album, 515, times that by 100, and you get to what it used to sound like. And it still kind of does. As the best description of what it sounds like. What it looks like is, if you can imagine a forest after a nuclear blast. All the trees are black and ash, right? They're burnt. There's no foliage whatsoever. The ground is mud and dirt and ash. The sky is overcast. And there are thousands and thousands of shadow figure-like entities. Some have horns, some are big, some are small, something like that. But they're all in there yelling, screaming, in agony and pain, yelling, swearing at me over and over again. But yeah, every time I pull an entity from someone's house, throw them in the ring. When I go into the ring, I interrogate them to get information about why they were, oppressing this family. Why were you after them? And I've heard the most disturbing things you can think of why a dark entity or a demon would be after someone in the first place. From one saying, I liked the way she tasted.
Sounds like some creepy pedophile type shit.
It didn't help that the girl was 12 years old. So yeah.
I assumed.
Yeah. Well, this was a demon that was saying this to me. From saying their fear, I love their fear. Others saying that they wanted to hurt said so-and-so. Others saying that they have something they want. Just everything, anything. Others saying, one witch entity that I took who had 3 demons in her stead. This case was probably the most, not profound case, but it's been my most rewarding case. And she actually came on the podcast, the mother of the son who I helped. Her name is Dal, and her son was being oppressed by, like I said, a witch and 3 demons. And he was being oppressed to a level where he couldn't walk. He literally dragged himself on the ground. And this kid is like 12 years old. No health problems prior. No sign of physical ailments. Nothing. He was healthy, fine, happy. This happened to him. Complete. Stopped. Being happy. Cried all the time. Was in pain. Yelling at his mother. These things are hurting me. I'm having nightmares. All this stuff, right? 30 minutes with me. Like it never happened. Like it never happened. She was astounded. Because she went to a shaman prior, an indigenous shaman in Vancouver area. Because I found this case through Mike, my friend up north, of the paranormal investigator. And yes, another Mike, because no paranormal team is complete without a Mike. Which I seem to find anyway. It's just like...
every group has a Mike.
Every group has a Mike. But he's the one who found me that case up there. And like you said, like it never happened. Like she literally thinks, this has been almost 2 years now, this case. And she messages once a month thanking us over and over again that my son is happy, he's healthy, he's living the life he should because of you. Well, every single month. And she says she's getting annoyed. I was like, no, you're giving me the when I feel down, your message brings me back up, knowing that I helped you this level and that you're so appreciative, and I can, keep going on to help the next family like that. But yeah. The reason this witch was oppressing this kid, not only because he had an ability that they wanted, she said it was just for fun. That's why she was torturing him. It was just for fun. Yeah, I made sure she suffered more than anything while she's in there. But if you want a proper, this is a story, this is a description I like to tell people to help them imagine what it's like, what happens when I come across you, or it's across them. So I want you to imagine yourself as a demon, right? You're ancient, you're evil, you're old. You've been here 1,000 years prior for man's ever existed. And there's this girl who's giving off an immense amount of fear and negative energy that you love. It tastes like any drug you ever had before. You want it. Every time she screams, she cries. Every time she's sad and depressed. Every time she's angry, lashes at her parents. More of that drug. Oh my God, give it to me. And you have 2 minions at your side who feed on her as well. And you spend weeks on this person. And you're making her hate her parents. You're making her isolate herself from her friends. You're doing all this over and over again, months now. And they brought in a priest. You scared them away. They brought in a psychic. You scare them away. And you're like, there's nothing that's going to stop me now. This one's mine. I'm going to possess this one from the inside out. Then one random day, you see her parents talking to someone on their phone. And it's like it's a video call because you can see the light on their faces. And you hear the man's voice on the other side say, well, what do you need to do? I need you to turn the camera around. I see your POV. I need you to walk me around the house. And they agree. And you see the parents point the camera around, walking around the house. And for some reason, the camera or the person telling them is leading them to one of your minions. And your minions stand there going, looking at the person. What is the person doing? All of a sudden, you see these red strings fire from the camera or fire from the phone, wrap around your minion, and suck him into the phone faster than you can blink. And he's gone. And you're scared. What the hell was that? What are they doing? What have the humans created? What have they designed? Have they built some kind of thing that trap us? What's going on? And you continue on, and you hear the person's voice, or go over here. And that's all you see. It's following this other minion. And you're suddenly he's on the roof. He's on the ceiling. He's trying to get away. Tendrils come out, sap him, pull him in. And you're scared now. So you start to run. And you run outside, and you're hit. You run into a wall. And it's positive energy. You can't escape. What's going on? I don't understand what's going on. And all of a sudden, you feel one of those tendrils wrap around your throat and pull you backwards. And now you're going through the phone into another space. And now you see a man in a whole nother room have you in his hand. And he says, into the ring. And you fall into this place that looks almost like what the humans described as hell. And you see at your feet an inscription in the ground, like on marble stone. Abandon all hope, ye who enter here. No, this can't be hell. It can't be nothing. This doesn't make any sense. I'm a demon. I have control. And this man enters the ring. But he doesn't look like a man to you. He looks like something else. And just his voice alone creates intimidation. And you try to attack, but you can't move. You can hardly even lift your arms. You have no power here. How is this possible? What is going on? You have more fear than you ever experienced in your life, ever have, because you have been an entity who has put fear in others. You've never experienced it yourself. That's what happens every single time I do a case.
I know before we started up, you were talking about how some of the episodes you listened to from my previous episodes were some of the ones about King Solomon. And just out of curiosity, King Solomon has a lot of mystery surrounding him, but have you maybe found any obviously there's the whole idea about him like controlling demons, but it doesn't necessarily say the means. I'm almost kind of curious if this may have been something that King Solomon was able to do, and maybe it got a little bit more weird when he got to a point after he realized that once he had these things trapped, that he was able to make them do things for him. And that's when everybody kind of starts getting that bad idea about King Solomon. But honestly, I think it's a matter of perspective, because if you're making demons do things they don't want to do, you're not necessarily like working with demons. You're making demons work for you, which realistically I never necessarily saw as anything morally bad, as long as you're not making them do things that are bad. But specifically with King Solomon, he had them help build the temple, which obviously like the last thing a demon wants to do is build a temple for God. So, I mean, I don't know, man, just matter of moral perspective on that one. But yeah, have you found any connections like that with possibly with King Solomon?
Well, I have the Lesser Keys of Solomon, and I've read most books on the occult and witchcraft and everything he's done. Solomon, like Lesser Keys of Solomon. I have the Posa Ida, the Elder Ida. I look in different faiths in Hinduism, ancient Mesopotamia, everything that they've done, everything that I have written down, all their stories. I've tried to find everything everywhere. But with Solomon specifically, he was able to imprison 72 demons. Mind you, I beat his record, almost doubled it. No, I beat 1,400. No, yeah, 140. Yeah, 146. He was only in prison 72. And the 72 he wrote down. Granted, the 72 he wrote down are probably top tier guys. And I have maybe 20 top tier guys out of the 146. So, granted, that says like there's a lot of fucking demons out there. And 146, I can barely scratch the surface amount of what's out there. But King Solomon, the stories I've read and going through Lesser Keys and stuff like that, he imprisoned 72 demons based on somatic magic, using somatic seals from the knowledge that God bestowed upon him, or Yahweh bestowed upon him. And then the ring that was given to him, as the story goes, by Archangel Michael in his quest to help do this. He said, you got a place to put him, essentially. But Solomon got greedy with said power, that he used what he imprisoned to build his temple, which was a downfall, because he left that ring lying about while he bathed in the ring, and the ring was stolen from him by a demon who then portrayed himself as Solomon and ruled in his stead for I don't know how many years. Then Solomon finally got the ring back. I forgot exactly how, like a bird ate it, and then he found the bird, and he this weird story. But the ring itself, the actual ring, I think might be lost to time, but they supposedly have the ring in some museum somewhere. I don't know. That'd be cool if I came across and just pulled on the energy from it. Oh yeah, by the way, I can pull energy from haunted objects as well. So,
You'll just look down and the ring will appear in your hand. And you'll be like, I swear I didn't touch the case. The security guards will be like, I don't understand how the alarm didn't go off here.
Yeah.
Be like, I don't understand either, man. We're both figuring this one out together.
Yeah. But from what he thought he could use them to do his bidding and stuff like that. I don't give them such leeway. Once they go in, that's it. They never escape ever again. And
definition of they'll take you give them an inch, they'll end up trying to take a mile. I mean, what other being in the entire world would have been the reason for that phrase in the first place?
Yeah, but I don't know if you're curious or not. But someone asked me one time, "What do I name the ring? What's its name?" Right, and at the time, I didn't really have one. I simply called it the ring, which just seemed kind of lazy. So I thought about it, and I gave it a proper name. It's called Civic, which is Latin for no escape.
Did you come up with that just directly off your head, or was there like a story to why you kind of came to that name?
Well, Latin is one of our oldest languages that we have. It's the roots for majority of languages out there. So if the demons know you're heading to Civic, they understand.
That is true. Because I was going to say demons usually speak Latin, so I guess if you name it after a Latin name, they know exactly what it is.
Yeah. So I looked up ancient Latin. I looked up Latin word for prison or unscapable or anything like that, and I found Civic, which is no escape. And I was like, that fits better. Let me call it that. Civic, no escape. Because technically, like I said, nothing ever leaves that ring. Nothing ever has. Nothing ever will. And someone asked me one time, what if some sorcerer comes around and steals the ring and takes the stuff out? You don't understand. I don't use magic to put stuff in there. I have no spell abilities. I don't say a chant. I don't say a prayer. I don't use incense. I don't use herbs. I don't use anything that my body doesn't already do. Myself is all I ever needed. I walk into a room, a dark entity's in there. I got it. It's gone. I reach to the phone. You're doing a live and a paranormal investigation, and I'm happen to watch. I can pull what's from your investigation into my place and take it. I've actually done that for fun, for practice. I source through TikTok, and I find TikTok lives of paranormal investigators, investigations. Reach in, if there's anything negative there, I take it. And I've screwed up a lot of investigations because of that.
Inquiries of All Reality will be back after this brief commercial break, but just a quick reminder, don't forget to go and check out the awesome sponsors of the show, I Know Squatch, Cryptoteology, Snarly Natural Products, Oregon-ite, Dimension Devices, and Big Ape Threads. More information and discounts for those are all available down in the show description. Now feel free to fast forward through these commercials so we can hop right back into the show. And we are back, so let's get back to it. Dude, talk about something you'll have to do on your deathbed. If you're able to, filter this stuff through yourself, obviously this ring, no matter what happens, through time, that'll still be something that exists. So it'll be on your deathbed, you'll have to filter the ring out through yourself or something like that, because you don't know what type of transference that energy might have going back through you. But at least then you'd be able to say that the ring is safe, and then you wouldn't have to worry about anybody trying to open it at any point. Because even if you bury it one day, somebody's bound to discover it.
Oh no, that's just the thing. Because someone asked me once, and it's ran across your mind, what happens to me after I die? What happens to the ring? Where does it go? My children will take my place. My son, like I said, he's 8 years old. Tomorrow. And he's already shown abilities. Granted, he's on more of the side of his mother. How she projects shields and protection, he pushes positive energy out of his hands. I saw him at 3 years old hold a demon in its place before I pulled him. It was in our house, and he was sitting up in a dark corner of the house, and he was looking at something, and he had his hands up, goes, no, 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 and he just, whatever this was, couldn't get past him. And I reach out my right hand, I feel something negative, and I pull it. And he turned around, not because he heard me behind him, because he was following where it was going. He saw me.
So he's got a mix where he can see, but he can also hold. So he's actually I'll say talk about a best of both worlds, because it's like you have the stronger power, but you can't see, and then your wife has the ability to see, but she can't hold. So it's like he's getting this like mix of the in between.
Well, he can't do what I do, so he projects, right? He pushes energy away. He like stops them in their track or knocks them back. But yeah, he's going to have more of my wife's ability when it comes to psychic mediumship. He's already can see. He sees everything as it is and stuff like that. He sees what I'm doing, because one time I pulled something from outside the shield into the house, put it in the ring, met my wife, Megan. She asked him, did you see what Daddy's doing? What is Daddy doing? And he goes, taking the monsters. So he knows what I'm doing. He sees what it is. But to be more specific, my daughter, who is yet to be born, but we've already named her, as we did with all our children already. We already have the names solidified. My daughter is going to take my place as the next Shadow Walker. And that's a prophecy that has been told to me by 3 different people, including my wife, Mike, my mentor, another psychic medium that we were good friends with, and my wife. They've all seen it. Her doing what I'm doing, but better. And how the fuck do you get better of what I'm already doing? That's scary for anyone else out there in the world. But yeah, my daughter would take my place as the next Shadow Walker. And then something even weirder. Like I said, past lives. I keep coming back over and over again. And one thing I remember, a phrase in meditation, speaking to my spirit guides, something they told me, a phrase that I keep saying every time I die: I'm not done, send me back. Or I'm not finished yet, send me back. Has been my phrase that I probably should get tattooed on my forehead just to point at it every single time I pass away. And that's why I have lived many lives. And that's why the time in between my lives has been very short. I've only been on the other side for maybe a couple of years before I get pushed back into another vessel over and over again. And the weirder thing is, they let me in, and this is going to mess with your head with time. They let me in knowing exactly where I'm going next time. Because this is the first time in 400, if not more, years that me and Megan are together at the same exact time without any tragedy from our third dimensional space, without any war. We're not soldiers. We don't enlist in war or nothing like that. We're not threatened by war. We're not at times of war. Well, not us anyway. In other parts of the world, it's a whole nother story. But we have no danger other than the natural stuff of the world as we live in right now. But now, because me and Megan have found each other in multiple past lives, we are twin flames, soulmates, whatever you want to call it. But we keep finding each other over and over again, every single life. Not every single life, but majority of them, we found each other over and over again. And this life, of course, we find each other again. We were together in our previous life to this one, and this life we're again together again. But this time, we're actually able to leave a lineage. Before, we weren't, not knowing what we are and not knowing what we can do. This is the first time that we know who we are, we know what we're doing, we're good at it, and we can leave a lineage behind. Everything in this life just works perfectly. It's timed perfectly, like we waited for this specific time to be here, to do what we're doing. So, my next vessel is my great-granddaughter. Because how do you make a stronger Shadow Walker? You make him a woman. Because women, as we know it, are stronger psychic mediums than men are. They have a strong connection to the other side. Life flows through them. They have a stronger emotional threshold than men do. They're allowed to, for more than anything, but also because they have more ability to feel than we do. But also, it's just been proven throughout history. Who have been the most powerful users of magic? Women. Who have been the most powerful users of psychic mediumship abilities? Women. So how do you make a powerful Shadow Walker? You make it a woman. Hence, my daughter is my next carrier of the Shadow Walker form. And that time I come around in 100 years, will be my great-granddaughter. And something strange. You ever heard of retrocausality?
Yes, I have.
Yes.
But for the listeners that may not be familiar, if you want to kind of describe it a little bit.
The future influencing the past, which makes no sense when you hear it the first time. How does the future influence the past?
If time's not linear, which it isn't,
Exactly.
except for in our reality, in the way we're viewing it currently.
It has to do with like quantum mechanics and quantum physics. And I heard a podcast describe it before, and it got very sciencey and very boring. But I got the gist of what they're talking about, and because of that, with that mindset in mind, I listen to. Granted, I'm a big music fan. I'll say I'm wearing a Misfits shirt, but I have a playlist amongst many playlists on my phone. And I have my favorite song playlist because I have specific songs that became my favorite songs. These songs I can listen to over and over again, never get tired of them. And I was listening to one specifically, and I had that mindset. My great granddaughter, my future self, what would she be capable of? And also that thought of retro causality. With that in mindset, listening to that song, meditating at the same time, I was looking through the eyes of not me, or not this vessel anyway. I was looking through the eyes of somebody who had a very feminine hand, smaller than mine. She was laying down as I was laying down. She was listening to the song as I was listening to the song. So, hey, it tells me music's still around in 100 years. At least that music anyway, digital music is still out there for people to hear. And it's nighttime. I say it was nighttime for me too. So we were listening to the same song in the same position at the same time, just 100 years apart. And when I ignite my tendrils, my ability in my hands, I see energetic abilities, because over time I've able to pull the energetic, elemental energy from said entity. If an entity is made of fire, I pull that fire ability off, I add it to my tendrils. If an entity is made of wind, I pull that elemental energy off, I add it to my tendrils. Water, sand, or every element energy. The first that I was able to wield and control was lightning and electricity, but that essentially became part of my tendrils. That's a longer story. But I control elemental energy in my hand. I can see that from twisting, from lightning to fire tornadoes to sand winds, stuff like that, from snow in my hands, right? And I was doing that. But instead of seeing the elemental energy in my hand, in her hand, I saw cosmic energy. It looked like she was holding the galaxy in her hand. How the galaxy looks through telescopes. Not planets, the cosmic energy, how the edges of the galaxy look like. Those colors, how it blends. It looks like lights, bleeding and undulating in water at the same time. How that looks like was in her hands. So that tells me she's able to control cosmic energy. That's the way I control elemental energy in 100 years. And the weird thing is, she could be listening to this right now. She's hearing my words as her previous vessel, her great-grandfather, right this very second, as she probably has through every single podcast that I have been part of, to gain a better knowledge of who her great-grandfather was, but also who her previous vessel was. That messes with your head. Will your future vessel hear your voice and you not recognize it because you had no idea who you were? But if you knew your next vessel and you could give it all the information possible to continue on whatever mission you were part of, yeah, that messes with people's head to think about that.
Just makes you wonder how many people that are doing shows, for example, that are writing books, whatever, kind of have this idea in mind and don't even realize what path they're actually laying down for the future. And a lot of people don't realize it, but just being in this community, this realm, I feel like we're laying a lot of the groundwork for future generations. And again, maybe even laying the ground for your future self, not even realizing it.
Well, I'm trying to lay the groundwork for my future self, to make my future self not have to do everything I'm doing now, to be more maintenance and less war. All right. Maintaining what I already established versus having to keep continuing my journey, which that's the seems to be the harder trope to get across, is what I'm doing now. And this is why it's been my mission to get on every single paranormal podcast that exists and to tell my story, for a simple fact alone, for the entertainment level that most likely anyone listening to this gets, but also because there's someone out there who could use my help. Someone listening who hears, maybe this guy has the answer to help me out. Maybe he can finish what no one else is able to finish. Maybe he can give me peace. Something that I will never have is peace. I'll give to what those which I can never hold. It's just peace. And yeah, peace is not something that I've ever had in the previous lives, and nor will I ever have in this, probably not even the next. So, rest doesn't seem to be a thing that I'm capable of doing. And people talk about soul contracts and whatever like this. Did you make a soul contract that said you always be for war? I don't know. That's one of the mysteries and stuff like that. And it's probably a stronger, more out there story to everything than what I know at the moment. And I'm still learning everything. But with myself, with my wife, and with my sister, because that's who Julie is to me. She's not my physical, biological sister. She is like, funny term, I can't think of anything better. She's my soul sister. Because when we met, it was like we were siblings. That's the first thought that came to our heads when we met each other the first time. Like, we've done this before, right? Yeah. What am I to you, brother? And I said sister. And we find out that we've been siblings in multiple past lives. So, she calls me brother and I call her sister, even though we are not physically related. But that's our relationship. It's like a brother-sister relationship. And like I said, where I am limited, she is not. But where she is limited, I am not. So she is the third triangle, the third point of the triangle, you would say. Right? There's three of us now who can do what we do. And this is what we're doing out in the world. But we also, doing what we do, we've gained a lot of hate. And you can imagine, I've prepared myself for being one of the most hated people in the world. And how would that even be possible? I said, you're helping people. What are you talking about? I am going to ruin religion. I am going to ruin paranormal investigating. I am going to ruin psychic mediumship. I am going to ruin shamans. I am going to ruin exorcists. I am going to ruin everything that they have laid down in stone by saying, nah, it doesn't work like that. I've seen more. From where most people have looked through the paranormal world, spiritual world, through a keyhole, me and my wife have somehow opened a door and see everything as it is. I say I got about 75% of it figured out. And I say I'm talking about everything. From all my time of meditating, where I've gone, what I've seen. Megan alone, from what she's seen and what she's talked to and all that stuff. From our encounters, from my conversation with demons, from understanding how they are, how they work, how they look. All that. And for everyday information that most people never get even close to because of who we are and what we've encountered. If you want to go into 30 minutes, I can tell you about my alien experience.
Ooh, I was going to say, man, alien experience. If you want, we can save this one for next time. We can schedule something up and we can dive into alien ones. I feel like this one was a really, really good introduction. And we can honestly just keep setting up more episodes and keep diving into your experiences in different chunks if you want, man.
Oh, yeah, this is just the iceberg of my very odd, strange life that I have lived. Because prior to even having my ability, I've had many weird, strange things happen to the hauntings on a ranch. For me, having weird seizure episodes that were caused by deja vu to, weird shit like that. But, yeah, the alien experience, that happened recently. And that alone is, like I said, about another hour and a half. If I would go into full detail, if I just keep it short, maybe 30 minutes. But if you want to hold it off for next time, we can.
Well, if you say the full story is an hour and a half, I don't want to lose any details. So I'd rather just hear the full story.
Yeah. But yeah, it's being who I am. I always said we're never going to go unnoticed. And we've caught the attention of a lot of things out there, including people. But to finish my point about being hated, I asked Christians, if a man came along with the ability to imprison demons and dark entities, what would you call him? And every single time I've gotten the same response. Jesus Christ, an apostle, a prophet, Jesus Christ, over and over and over again. I am not a Christian. It's not to say I don't believe in Yahweh and Yahshua. I just don't choose to follow them. And that's the thing. I know I said I was Nordic, right? That's what kind of my faith lies. But I'm not truly a real Nordic because I don't worship Odin or any of the Nordic gods. In truth, I believe every god that's ever been worshipped or believed in exists. All of them. Because, of course, I've heard another. So if one other exists, except for Yahweh, they all have to exist, right? At least that's how logic works. I just would choose to follow Yahweh, Yahshua. But a man doing what you say only your God is capable of, I'm doing, and I am not a Christian. kind of muddles up what you believe. Kind of throws it all in a blender, and you're going, what the fuck is going on? How is this God have power over things that our priests have to spend years doing, and they barely can get something to leave after weeks on a person? And I walk in the room, take it, and gone, and I'll see you later. What? Only our God is capable of doing that. How is he doing that? Yeah. Now you're going, what am I supposed to believe in? That's what I meant by them hating me, because I'm challenging their faith. When you challenge someone's faith, you, of course, invoke violence, because the last thing anyone wants to be proven wrong on is what they believe in. Their faith being challenged. That's the last thing they want to believe. But for that simple fact, something I guess one of the last things I'll talk about is something I come to conclusion about. My ability, my wife's ability, my sister, psychic, medium, shamans, light workers. All these people exist on our plane of existence. Third dimensional plane, you want to say. I always theorize the fourth dimension is where spirits are and ghosts and demons. Fifth dimension are where gods are. Higher, however we want to look at it. But the fact that all these people who are fighting darkness are necessary. We're necessary. If we weren't necessary, then everything that we pray to would happen. The gods could help. Gods could step in. They could change things. They could fix things. But they haven't. And they won't. So the conclusion I come across is that if I'm necessary in doing this, I'm necessary, right? My ability awoke in me. Granted, it took its sweet time getting to me. I'm 37 years old now, and this was 4 years ago. So it waited till my early 30s to even attempt to wake up. But I'm necessary. If I'm necessary, that means that the gods can't help us here. And I'm not saying you won't be able to hear them, or they don't answer you through prayers or through your mind or anything like that. No, I'm saying they physically and can't help us here. They can't shoo away a demon. They can't come down here and depossess someone. They can't stop something from happening. They can't do anything. Then what are they good for? Oh, no. I'm not saying they're not good for you. I'm not saying that. I'm not implying that at all. I'm just saying they can't help us here. They can guide us. They can influence us. They can push us in the right direction through our mind and through meditation and through prayer, which is another form of meditation. But help? No. They can't help us here. For the simple fact, I am necessary. And my sister is necessary. And my wife is necessary. Every light worker, every psychic, medium, shaman, even priests, are necessary because the gods can't help us down here. So when I came to that realization, that's what led me into the idea of spiritualism versus religion or faith. I believe the gods exist. I don't worship any of them. And it's a hard thing for somebody to grasp. How do you believe they exist but don't worship them? The same way you believe certain people exist, but you don't choose to worship them. You understand why they exist. You understand why they're necessary. You just don't choose to worship them. I work with them the best way I can. Because Nordic gods tend to have my back because Nordic runes seem to work with protecting us. Especially the Algus rune, for me, seems to be my calling card, the Algus rune, which is there's like a Y with a line through it. It's a protection rune. And I've left that mark in people's mind forests as a symbol of protection. Like I said, it's become my calling card. I've left it in so many people's mind forests. It's like my signature almost.
Hold tight, guys. This is the last break, so stay tuned. And we are back, so let's hop right in.
But yeah, that's the hard pill, you would say, that I've come across, is that if I'm necessary, if other people in this world are necessary to do what we're doing, that means the gods can't help us here. People say, oh, they're working through you. No. I've had no influence from any gods in my ability. None. Other than Odin calling me Dringer. That was the last communication I had with any god who tried to help me, even through meditation, even through meditating and speaking to my spirit guides. Nothing and no one has helped me. Gave me advice, anything like that. I have been learning everything on my own, or what I can learn from experience and from other things I could read. But yeah, the most powerful person in the world who can take dark entities out with a flick of my fingers has had no help from gods. You think they would? You think they would have my back? You think they would step in and make themselves known? No, especially Yahweh. I have conquered more demons in my time than any of his angels have in being here. Oh, Isaac, you're speaking blasphemy. Well, strike me down then. He can't. because he can't come here. If he could, a lot of our lives would be better off for it. But I'm not deterring anyone's faith or religion. If you want to believe what you believe, go ahead and believe it. If you don't want to believe in me, that's fine. Toss me to win. You don't have to believe what I'm doing. I am here to help people. That's my entire purpose, is to help those who suffer, those who have prayed, those who have had people come in, and nothing has helped. It's actually gotten worse. And I come in 30 minutes, absolutely free, and now it's all gone, like it never happened. That's, and amongst everything, people find most unbelievable.
Well, I guess at this spot, it'd be a good spot for words of wisdom, even though I guess you've kind of been doing that for a little bit. But if there was any words of wisdom that you could bestow on the listeners, what might it be?
Never accept anything as it is. Always question. Always look deeper. Because there's always an answer deeper than what you see on the surface. And that goes with everything, right? And I don't tell you, be a conspiracy theorist. It's the last thing. But it goes with information. Like myself, I was a Christian. Then I gained this ability, and I looked for answers within Christianity. Didn't have any. I looked everywhere else. I learned the histories of the world. When I reached out and expanded my mind past what was told to me, I learned everything you can know. And learning everything out there that's available to us, I learned that the Mesopotamian legend that goes back 8,000 years before Christianity was even thought of, they had a flood story. Wait. How did they have a flood story 8,000 years before even the first name of Christianity was even mentioned? Before the Babylonians, who influenced Christianity, came around, before what the faith was to influence the Babylonians, before what influenced them, and so forth and so on. No mention of that. Before all of them, Mesopotamia said. So that led me to the idea like, well, okay, what was going on? So that's what led me to the idea of, if the answer is given to me doesn't make much sense and I'm trying to learn more, go back for it. Learn much as you can. Expand your knowledge. Because knowledge is out there for everyone, especially in our time right now. You have the world's information in your palm of your hands. And you're saying, that's all I need to learn. No, that's ignorant. That's childlike, saying I'm content in my ignorance. I say learn all you can, and then make up your mind for all the information presented for you. If you still want to believe what you want to believe, go for it. But if you're expanding your mind beyond what you were told, then you might be able to, as they say, ascend to a higher dimension.
Hey man, just like the title of the show, the best advice that I can give is to inquire about your reality. And very fitting words of wisdom, again, considering the name of the show. And if anybody wanted to come and find you on the internet, they possibly wanted to contact you for help, they wanted to find your podcast, any of that stuff, where can people come and find you on the internet?
Socials are Hidden in the Shadows podcast on Instagram, where most people can message us. We respond there most of the time. If you will message us for help or want to advise or talk about something, or have us come on your podcast or whatever, or just want to talk to us about something, you message us to Hidden Shadows podcast. X is Hidden Shaw 6. We are Hidden the Shadows Podcast 2 on TikTok, or links to all our social media and all ways you can listen to us at hiddenshadowspodcast.com. Podcasts you can find anywhere you listen to podcasts: YouTube, Spotify, Apple, wherever you listen to podcasts. You can usually find us. We're not really hard to find. And we've talked about everything and anything among the paranormal. Like I said, we've been doing this for years. So a lot of subjects we touched over our time. And then you get to hear our perspectives about what we talk about. Because I always say that we don't talk about stuff from a spectator's point of view. We talk about it from someone who's actually in the game's point of view. A lot of paranormal podcasts out there talk from a spectator's point of view, but we talk about some people who have been involved with it. And I always say, not everything we talk about we've had experience with, but most things we talk about we've had experience with, which a lot of things. So also remind me next time we talk, is a teaser for part 2 of our conversation. I actually have come across a gnome. A gnome.
Say a gnome?
A gnome.
Dude, I'm just going to have to take a list here. And next time I know that you're coming on, I'm just going to have to run down this list. So far I got aliens and I got gnomes. So
yeah, I never thought the Fae folk would be something I'd come across. But hey, one of them made themselves known to me. And it wasn't much of a conversation, but I still fucking saw one. So But yeah, like I said, not everything we've experienced we talk about, but most things we experience talk about. But yeah, podcast.com is probably the best place to find any information on us, where you can reach us and stuff like that, because you can email us through the website as well.
Well, I appreciate you making the time to come on today, man, and I'm really looking forward to next time because, like I said, I already got a list here to make sure that we dive into them. And from you were saying before the show, we could do multiple episodes and dive into different experiences. So we're gonna compartmentalize this stuff, man. And we're gonna start diving into each of them.
No problem.
If you guys enjoyed this episode, don't forget to leave those reviews or ratings on iTunes or Spotify. Your opinions go a long way, and I really, really appreciate it. And if anybody would like to get a hold of me for any reason whatsoever, you guys can email me at inquiriesofourrealitypodcast@outlook.com, or you guys can get a hold of me through social media, Instagram or Facebook, but Instagram is the one that I'm most active on. Or you guys can go to the submission form, which is available on the link tree. There are two options there, one of which is to contact me, and the other one is to report an encounter. So on the other side, if anybody would like to report an encounter, again, don't forget to do that and report those to ommencounterreports@outlook.com. Or you guys can use the hotline number, which is 313-364-1551. And every single thing that I mentioned throughout the show is all available on the link tree. And with that, hope you guys enjoyed the conversation. I hope today's show has connected some dots in your own reality. And I'll catch you on the next one. Have a good night, everybody.